This video is about reviewing the book How to Draw by Scott Robertson. I'm going to break this review down into two sections. The first section, I will go through what I've personally gained from this book, and in the second section, I will scroll through the book page by page. That way you get a sense of what you'll get if you decide on purchasing this book for yourself. But before I do, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and also click that notification bell so that you could be notified as I produce more content. And also please follow me on Instagram /ArasJArt. I'll start by saying this is one of the best books that I have personally come across when it comes to foundational training. It's exactly what it says over here. Drawing and sketching objects and environments from your imagination. The only thing that's ironic about this book is the title, How to Draw, which makes it sound so simple, but this book is anything but simple. I'll go ahead now and show you an overview of my results from going through this book. I know it's not exciting to look at some of these things, but that's foundational training for you. For example, taking the time to understand how ellipses are constructed will dramatically change the way you draw from now on. And just keep in mind, it doesn't have to be pretty as you go through this book. I mean, when you're learning, you are bound to make mistakes, and if you're not going to make any mistakes, then what's there to learn? You're not really learning anything. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, don't be afraid if your work turns out ugly. I mean, if you look at my work, it's a mess, but I'm okay with it because I actually gained something from doing these lessons. And as you can see, as I progress, it starts to get a little better. Here it looks really clean, only because I basically drew over and over and over, constantly undoing my steps until I was satisfied with my work. Most of what I went through, most of the drawings are free-handed, unless it's like a very, very tight ellipse like that. I think some of these I even did freehand, but it was pain in the butt drawing it over and over until I got it right. Something like this, I clearly, I just used Photoshop or Painter's straight line. I forgot, what is it? You basically hold shift. If you're gonna do it on paper, it's pretty much equivalent to using a ruler. As you can see, some of these lessons, it gets pretty complicated. Cutting volumes, how hinges and hinging and rotating flaps work. More volume cutting, how to add and to remove from shapes. If you have a volume, how to add, for example, another section by extending it. Two curve combo, which comes in handy for example, vehicle designs. For the rest, I decided to do it on paper and pen, only because I wanted to gain the confidence of not being able to undo my step. Now, it's one thing I want to mention is that first things first, you could see the constructions from within. The rule was no using a ruler. I cannot use a ruler. It has to be free-handed. However, these were not done in first attempt. I basically drew first version, and then I would put a sheet on top of that and draw the next version, and then I would continue doing that until I felt I had the right amount of construction for me to take it to a somewhat presentable level. Here's an example, learning how to build a paper aircraft, which eventually helps you learn how real aircrafts are constructed, working with complex volumes, cutting into them, adding to them, extending temporary planes. If you're planning on using a ruler to do these lessons, you could do it. You could actually get the job done. But the reason I didn't want to use a ruler is because basically trains my muscles to be able to handle really accurate lines. I mean, that's just a personal preference, because I prefer to sketch everything, and I don't want to be restricted by, oh, I want to draw straight lines and I want to construct something that looks solid. Now I need to get out my drafting tools. I don't want to be dependent upon that. I want to be able to freehand everything, and then later on grab my tools to refine my work. That's just the way I personally like to work. And this was, I believe, the last lesson, which was drawing a car construction. It's really ugly. This was the hardest lesson that I went through. I drew it so many times and it just wasn't working. I eventually copied Scott's wheelbase and his ground plane, I believe, and then I drew many versions of that over and over and over until this ugly version came out. Also, something to keep in mind, even if you go through this book, it's not a book that you put away and say, oh no, I've gone through this, I understand this, I'm done with this book. It's the type of book where you come back to it later on, that you revisit over time. I'll go ahead and leave the link in the description box if you're interested in checking out this book. And now I'll scroll through the book, that way you get a sense of what's in it.